glad you guys made it today. So let's, before we start anything, let's just start in the heart, okay? So let's close our eyes for a second and just start breathing into the heart space. And as we breathe into the heart space, we're going to exhale out and around us 360 degrees. And then nice deep inhale right into the heart again. And exhale out 360 degrees around us. And then I want you to draw a line from right above your crown chakra, right above your head, right down through the body, out to right below your feet. And I want you to just command that line to be straight. Right? The multidimensional experience that is you, represented by that line. And then let's go ahead and draw another line from, we had our arms outstretched, our hands outstretched, from one outstretched hand right through the heart, out to the other one. Let's draw that line and let's command it to be straight, representing the masculine and feminine aspects of us, representing the left and right, the polarities of kind of this horizontal plane, right? Here we go. And then one more line here. We're going to draw another line from out in front of us, right through the heart, out to the back. And we're going to command that energy or that line to be straight as well, representing the future, the present, the past. Here we go. And then let's breathe right into the heart space again. And we're going to exhale right out all of those lines. All of those lines, we exhale out 360 degrees around us. Letting all of those straight coordinates kind of be the stability or the structure within the sphere of our own presence. Here we go. One more inhale into the heart. And then exhaling out 360 degrees. All right, beautiful. And when you're ready, we can just open our eyes. And we can go anywhere you would like to go today.
Let's see, could you speak to addictive behaviors that don't seem to diminish?
Yeah. Addictive behaviors, like anytime we try to force a behavior to stop, we have a tendency to just kind of add energy to it, right? So addictive behaviors are always addictive because there's an underlying energy behind them. And so they usually don't stop until we get to that place that addresses or meets the need of the addiction in the first place. So some of the Michael Brown information from the presence process would speak to that particular issue around, it's really about these needs that just haven't had the opportunity to be met. And so a lot of times we'll come up with all kinds of other reasons or all kinds of other maneuvers of how to get past it or how to change it or how to whatever. And but the bottom line is that there's a need that needs to be met. And how do we actually reach that need? Well, we reach that need by every time it comes to the surface, being present to what's coming up, right? So, say there's an addiction for maybe for food or for sugar. That's usually mine. So, I'll use that one. Yeah. So, say there's that addiction. So, every time that addiction comes up, just giving ourselves the opportunity for just in a moment, just asking, okay, what need am I meeting or what need am I trying to meet? What am I trying to get away from in this moment? Where do I notice that every single time I go for that thing, I'm in this kind of emotional energy, right? And so every single time we do that, we kind of we slow down the process. We stop the process long enough to ask some kind of question, and then let's just meet that. Let's just, okay, I'm having chocolate right now because I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed, and I am um, I just don't want to feel this way, right? I mean, usually that's something, it's kind of stuffing something down or trying to feel a little sweetness when it doesn't feel like there's much sweetness in life. So in that moment, okay, I'm trying to stuff something down. Who is it? What part of my inner community feels like they need this instead of being held, instead of being met, instead of being right. So what does she need? What does that one that we're that has that need, what is it that she actually needs? And can we meet it? Can we give it to her? Yeah, on the spot. Yeah. Yeah, does that make sense? One of the things I will add is that I notice in my own world, especially right now with so much going on in the outer world, there's so much going on. And you can cloister yourself as much as you possibly can. And you're still going to feel these energies that are moving and shaking and all over the place. So every time something arises, the question really is, who is it within my inner community that's coming up to the surface? Who is it? A lot of times I'll just say, how old are you? Or what are you reflecting to me? Right. And you'll notice that, like right now, I don't know about you guys, but right now for me, there will be, like the 15-year-old will be angry. She has all these rules and regulations that somebody's put upon her, and like she's ticked, she's mad, right? So I'm not going to make her wrong for being mad, but I am going to meet her. I do need to hear her and see what she has to say. Sometimes, there's just a puddle of emotion, right? And when I ask, she's 5 or 6, and she doesn't really understand where all this energy is coming from, and she's trying to make everybody feel good, or she's trying to whatever, right? And so again, she's 5 or 6. We all know how to talk to a 5 or 6 year old and to be kind to her and be loving toward her, compassionate toward her. So when we meet her like that, then all of a sudden you'll notice that energy will start to dissipate. Yeah. And so we just have to take the time, because there literally is no thing outside of us. There's nothing outside of us. So we're this awareness of what's arising within us, and then asking a few questions, however you ask them, and then meet that need, meet that place, and just you'll notice things just start to relax again. Things just start to die down. And it's a very empowering place to be too, because when you notice that things start to die down just because you meet it, then all of a sudden you're realizing that it's not the influence of the outside world that's really getting to any of us. It's how are we meeting these influences that bombard us.
The next question is, lots of headaches coming through lately, attending to them with loving presence and breathing into that area as well. As once in a blue moon, an analgesic, just for relief. Any other suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of us, especially right now, we're conditioned to go up and out. We're conditioned to fight, flight, freeze when we're in stress, right? And so many of us have a tendency to go up and out when we're under stress too. So what's happening right now is it's almost like the crown chakra. The crown is kind of going, no, 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 no. We need you here. No, 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 no. You're staying here. I need you to stay present. Need you to stay, as connected to the planet as possible. So a lot of times the energy in the body is still trying to escape. It's trying to go up and out, right? But the crown's got a cap on it now, and so you can't go up and out. So usually something that draws your energy down lower in the body will help navigate that energy, right? So even sometimes just placing your attention like on the root, and then taking that energy of the root chakra and moving that energy down the legs and let it dissipate out, into the earth will work really well. Sometimes just checking in on the heart too, because usually if the head hurts, the heart's a little off as well. Yeah. So if the head's off, just breathing into that heart space and exhaling out 360 degrees. Again, there's all kinds of, we can go to all kinds of different, medical treatments, homeopathic treatments. We can go to all of that. And sometimes it's really beneficial and needed. But what I'm really so excited about right now is this this capacity that we each have to move energy within us. And first and foremost, we are energy, right? So it doesn't mean that we're wrong or we're bad if we take the ibuprofen or we, do something else. It's not about being right or wrong in that way at all. It's just about finding out who we actually are.
Okay, next question. Not wondering if you might say more about the gold energy coming in.
Oh yeah, I love talking about the gold energy coming in. Yes. Um, so that's, to me anyway, that might be something that's been available to others for quite some time, but it looks like it's a fundamental shift. If you want to talk about the Piscean age into the Aquarian age and that kind of thing, this gold frequency energy has a tendency, at least in my world, to go together with that Aquarian age. And so as we're the best way I can say it is that it's, let's say it's the highest order of ourselves, right? So let's say that your most coherent form, your most coherent experience might be in a little different kind of body. It might be on a little different kind of planet. It might be in a little different kind of experience, right? That, so let's say that uh, if all things were balanced, body, mind, spirit, regardless of what body that was, regardless of what mind you were using, regardless of what spirit had available to you in those moments, that is like this gold frequency. What's really amazing to me right now is we don't have to be somewhere else. We don't have to be doing something else, living somewhere else, being something else in a different kind of body. That gold frequency is now coming to us in this body, with this mind, in this experience of spirit, right? So it's really amazing. It's really beautiful as that gold frequency starts coming in. The other thing I will say is, man, it's altering DNA faster than just about anything I've ever seen. So we can say that, clearly, I mean, this is the time of a shift in collective human consciousness. Nobody can get away from that one anymore. That's what's happening right now. And at the same time, all of this dismantling is going on. The universe never does one thing without doing the other side of it. So if all this dismantling is going on, we also have all of this beautiful energy that's coming in to support the creation of what can come through any one of us, the realizations that can come through any one of us. And that gold energy, that gold frequency, um, it's like the purity of your own presence. It's like the clarity of your own heart space. Um, it's like the coherent multidimensional reality that is you, I think, is the best way to say it. Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
All right, next question. What would you say about being attached to certain ego structures versus being able to see anyone's self as a community? I forget that I see myself as a larger community of beingness and that most other people do not see it that way.
I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the whole ego identity thing, because I too, I mean, I see myself as a community. I'm Suzy's community, right? And there are all of these different aspects of me. And in any given moment, some of those aspects might need a very strong ego identity in order to move from one reality to another reality, or in order to shift from one place to another. Um, in other moments, there's an aspect of me that might have a really strong, I'm going to say, ego identity, or identity with some aspect that no longer serves me, right? That just simply no longer serves me. But what I notice most is if I make any part of my inner community wrong, and usually that word ego identity, for me anyway, it goes back to, it's been so conditioned into a wrongness, like that we shouldn't have that ego identity. And so whether it's religion, or whether it's some of even the metaphysical kind of more new agey or spiritual kinds of things, oh, you shouldn't have ego identity. I always have to step back a little bit from that and kind of go, okay, again, there's an aspect of my community that is rising up. And in that moment, it it might require or need a very strong identity in order to take the step that it's going to take. And so, again, as these parts of ourselves arise, let's stop for a minute and actually ask, what does it require? What does it need? What is it attempting to share with us? Right? Because the greater community that is, let's say, our totality, at the end of the day, that totality is always trying to work together. And when it does work together, we feel whole. When it's not working together, when we're identifying one part of ourselves as, oh, you're the bad one, you're the wrong one, in that moment, that's when, okay, a lot of times that part of ourselves will get very loud very quickly, right? It's like got a really loud voice. And so again, can we hear what it has to say without making it wrong, and implement what it has to say, you know, for the greater good of the whole community, for the greater good of the totality.
Next question is similar to the headaches one. I am noticing two physiological issues: constant thirst and acidic metallic taste in my mouth over the last few weeks. What would that be?
Detox. And it's you didn't do you didn't do a you might not even be going through a detox or consciously going through a detox, but everybody on this planet right now is detoxing, because the light frequencies that are coming in are so high, right? So those heavy metals that are coming out of the body, again, you didn't have to do anything for them to come out, they're just coming out. So, and the thirst is, again, this natural balancing. What better way to move that energy out than to keep flushing it out, right? So it's, again, it's like when we pay attention to this beautiful balancing that goes on naturally and organically within our bodies, then we know that we can trust the process, right? Um, Again, we have to remember that every single person on this planet has been conditioned to look at what's wrong instead of what's right. And we've been conditioned to look at what's wrong for a very specific reason. When we're polarized within ourselves, when we're fighting within our own inner community day in and day out, we're not paying attention to the power that we actually are. We're not paying attention to the capacities that we necessarily actually have. We're being divided. And we know for a fact that, we've lived any number of incarnations on this planet where where we came in over and over again into a divided, separated, polarized consciousness, right? And so what happens if we just agree to not polarize ourselves anymore? What happens if we just agree that, okay, whatever is coming up, if it's, okay, it's detoxing metal right now, right? So if it's detoxing a metal and I'm tasting metal in my mouth, again, instead of going to, oh, there must be something wrong, right? Let's just go to, oh, wow, okay, what is this? If we really just go back and ask the inner community, even if we go back and ask our totality, what's actually happening here? We'll probably get some kind of response. And also, one of the other things that really helps me anyway is, like, if I just write down, okay, today I'm, let's use that example. Today I'm tasting a lot of metal in my mouth. It's like I can feel it. It tastes this way. It's making me headachy. And I'm drinking tons of water, right? Again, usually you're going to see very quickly when you've got it right in front of you, oh, one's counterbalancing the other, or one's supporting the other. Yeah. It's almost always, well, it is always the way it is. Sometimes we just have to look a little deeper to find out where that balance is actually coming in. So, yeah. It doesn't always feel like that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. Yeah.
Okay, next question. I believe I remain neutral about any activity or election outcome, as I believe that we are in a dismantling period and will ultimately manifest the promised golden age. Since the week before the election, however, my blood pressure has risen to scary heights. I feel lovely waves of higher vibrations in my solar plexus and heart space, but my head will feel so intense that I fear it will crack.
Mm. Yes, I know that feeling well. It's like, absolutely. Um, so let me this is a I just want to get out of my own way here for just a second, because this one, um there again, so let's take this political climate. And I've spoken very little about this, and I've spoken very little about it because I'm not interested in giving energy to the polarity of it. What I am interested in, however, is using these two candidates as a reflection, right, back to our collective humanity. So we know that neither one of these candidates is the end all be all, right? just like none of us, we all have our challenges and we all have our strengths, right? So that's true within every human being on this planet. So we've got these two people who are propped up as, and you can even say that we're perceiving them as the light one and the dark one, right? Or the old and the new, but again, if you pay even attention to that piece, where this is a polarizing experience, right? If we pay attention to this one or that one, then we're in polarization. We're in some kind of duality. So again, what would happen if having both of these play out in the outer landscape, it's bringing up all kinds of different things for us, right? Sometimes one candidate says something and we don't feel very safe, right? And then another candidate says something and we feel anger or we feel frustration or we feel irritation. Another candidate says something and we have a moment of hope. And then somebody else says something. You see where it, what, as we're paying attention, if that's our choice to pay attention, if we're paying attention to that that outer landscape, it in and of itself is bringing up all of these energies, all of these feelings, right? So again, what if it's not about the outer landscape? What if it's not about any of that? What if it's really about returning ourselves to our own power? And sometimes the only way, well, always the only way we can see ourselves is through the reflection of others, right? And so what are these candidates bringing up for you in any given moment? And when they bring something up for you, are you taking a stance of right or wrong, good or bad, left or right, blue or red? Yeah. Are we taking a stance, or are we using that energy to actually find the power that lies within each and every one of us? Because we've been polarized, like I said, forever, forever. We are using this dismantling time, or can use this dismantling time, to reclaim our unity, right? And so again, just simple questions. It's like, wow, that really hit a nerve, and a lot of the energy right now, regardless of how you perceive these two individuals, a lot of it is around safety. And which candidate makes us feel the most safe, right? But again, the moment that we put that responsibility out on somebody else, we've really, I think, missed an opportunity to understand that. I mean, if we had one glimpse, just one, I'm so praying that in all of this new golden energy that's flying in, that we each individually get this one glimpse of what we actually are. If even a small handful of people on this planet had a true glimpse of what they actually were in their totality, this would be case over in a nanosecond. But this whole dance that's going on out in the outer world is designed to bring all of these energies up, right? It's designed for that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if we have to have one or the other, even, we're screwed. I don't know how else to say it, but if you have to have one or the other in order to be safe, or in order to move forward in your creativity and then we're still in that space. So again, what's coming up for us with these candidates? How does it make us feel? Who within our inner community is scared? Because there's a lot of that going on. Who within our inner community is uncertain? And also, let's call forth from our inner community those aspects of our being that can be supportive, can be loving, can be kind. Yeah. I know in my own household, I have four daughters, um, and they all had, they're all ranged from 23 to 32, right? 31. And they all have their very different points of view regarding this. And what I keep saying to each one of them is, I'll hear anything you have to say because I know it's going to bring up stuff for me to hear it. And then I can work with that. But I tell every single one of them, you are more important to me than anything that could divide me or divide us. We're not dividing because of political parties. We're not doing that in this family. You're more important as a human being than the views that you might perceive you have in this moment, or the energy that's moving through you in this moment. Yeah. So this is, if I could get one thing out to people right now, I just would say to everybody, please use this energy to feel what you're feeling, acknowledging what you're feeling, and be as kind and loving and compassionate to what you're feeling as possible. Yeah. People are going through a lot, a lot. Yeah.
All right, next question. It feels like the current education system is falling quickly via online education. What advice would you give parents about forward movement in education?
Uh, Let me tell you a story first, because I had my grandson here over the weekend, and he ended up staying through Monday, and so he was supposed to be online schooling, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it one little bit. And I've all of my clients that are children, a lot of this, everything from throwing computers across the room because they're not interested in sitting in front of a, box anymore, to just really having deep sadness that they're not connected to their friends and this kind of thing. So we'll talk about we'll talk about that. But so Kai, my grandson, said, he goes, I don't want to do school. And I said, well, tell me what that's about. He said, you don't learn anything. He said, I'm not learning anything. He said, I'm not excited. And I said, does excitement and learning go together? He said, it should. He's 7, right? Yes, excitement and learning should go together. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I wonder what this is about for you. And I just happened to have a tarot deck, sitting on my little altar there. And we could ask the cards. We could just ask what this is about for you. And he said, okay. So he picked up the deck of cards and he asked the cards, literally, okay, what's this about for me? And I said, oh, wait. I said, it won't work that way. They won't talk back to you that way, but we can shuffle them. You can ask a question and we can find out. And I said, so what actually is your question? He goes, well, what is this about? What's this about for me? What's school about for me? Why don't I like it? Why should I like it? He's asking all these questions at the same time. So I'm shuffling and all of a sudden a card flies out. And the card, it said limitlessness, limitless. And I opened up the book and I said, Kai, I said, this says that you're not meant to be doing things the way other people do things. It says that you're someone who's here to create something brand new. And it says that this is really all about asking, how is it that you best learn? How is it that you best create? And he said, oh my gosh, he goes, this deck really does work. So, like in that moment, he knew that limitlessness was a match for his consciousness, for his state of being. He understood in that moment that, oh, it's not wrong that I don't like school. It's not wrong that I'm wanting to run and hide when somebody says it's time to be sitting in front of a computer for 3 hours. It's like he's not wrong. And again, I think we really need to start talking to these kids. We really need to start asking them specifically and directly what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Right? The education system um, is is falling fast now, which is really exciting, to me. And again, it's not about the people who are educators, because people who are educators really typically have very big hearts, and they really are attempting to convey whatever it is that they believe that they should convey. But let's just pay attention to everything that no longer serves collective humanity is falling apart right now. And education happens to be one of those. So we just have to go back and we have to actually listen to the kids. Yeah, I watched this when I was working all the time with exclusively for a while with kids diagnosed with autism, because this population came in, and although the structure was still there for education, um, just by virtue of the fact that they were so different and they learned so differently, they were changing the face of education. And I remember a principal calling me a long time ago, and she said, Suzy, we have like 30% of our population that is diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, autism. She goes, our school is like coming apart at the seams. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to support them. And I said, well, wait until it goes just over 50%. And then you'll know exactly how to support them, because they'll be the majority, and you'll just have to come up with ways that support them instead of supporting all of the other kids in the ways that you have supported them up to that point. Let the kids move us into a new way of educating. Even with my own daughter, who's never been a homeschooler, and even though she was homeschooled for a while, she was never into that. And even she was just saying, Mom, she goes, I'm just going to let him do what he wants to do. She said, because it's not working. And plus the fact they don't want to move into all the regulations of vaccines and all this other stuff that might come about also in this midst. So she's just backing up from that for a while until it kind of takes shape or takes form. But yeah, we need to ask the people that it matters to the most, which is the children, and they have a pretty good idea, much better idea, what works for them. I feel like so many of us, definitely in my age bracket anyway, we had certain ideas about how we were meant to be educating and educated, right? These kids are coming in at a different frequency altogether. They have a whole different idea of how they should educate us and how they should be educated. So yeah, can we allow that is really the question. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, they want your take on respecting, caring for, having compassion for other people's fear. There is a lot of talk about accepting fear, and I wonder how we can assist in the process of distilling, releasing without inserting themselves into the fear.
Right. Yeah. So let's be clear here. We all have fear. Everybody has some degree of fear in any given moment, right? Even sometimes it's a nanosecond, sometimes it's a lifetime, but everybody has some degree of fear. And so if that's the case, then the next question is, are we compassionate towards our own fear? Because if we are, we have a tendency to naturally and organically be compassionate towards anybody else's. right? So, and I have a question mark about that question too. So there's all kinds of yeah, we meet the world the way we meet ourselves, right? And we also, in the way we meet ourselves, sometimes somebody is in a whole lot of fear, right? And they want to stay in a whole lot of fear. They want to be in that space, right? And so that's great. We can have compassion for the fact that that's where they are. It doesn't mean we have to stay and be embroiled in that energy, right? So again, to me, I always take it back to, am I having compassion for my own fear, right? As it arises, and sometimes it goes in waves. Yeah. The other thing is that as it goes in waves, am I compassionate towards that? And then when somebody is inviting me into their fear, yeah, I can share with them whatever I have to share with them. I can have compassion for them. I can offer something. But sometimes people really want to be in that space. Sometimes, and I, in my own experience, I just feel like I have to keep backing up and giving myself permission to do what's in the highest and best for my experience in that moment, because I don't do anybody any good by moving into fear with them. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, and much easier. I don't know about you guys, but in the moments that I'm out and about, if I'm in a lot of fear, I don't really have a lot of compassion. Out in the world, it's like, oh, it's like, take off your mask, or, it's like there's all kinds of things that rise up within me. But if I can kind of go back to, no, wait a minute, they're experiencing a fear that I am not experiencing right now. Yeah. And in that moment, then I can say, I really do better if I'm at home or if I'm out somewhere else, instead of in that energy. Yeah. Yeah. It's all energy. End of the day, what are we adding our energy to is really it.
Okay, next question is back to the gold energy and the kiddos. They must feel it. Does it assist their understanding of what they need for education? And can you speak to their new ways?
Ooh. Um, so I kind of like to save this question for what's up for the kids. But what I do want to say is that as we all are collectively breaking up, as as we're collectively breaking up the things that no longer serve us, these kids are coming in, getting grounded, becoming more present in ways that I have really never seen. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I mean, kids are doing things. I keep hearing over and over again parents saying, I didn't even know she could do this, or I didn't know that this was possible, or I didn't know he thought like that, or those kinds of things. So, we, I want to speak to this from the adult's point of view instead of the kids' point of view, because the kids know what to do. The kids are the next generation. The kids are holding these frequencies. A lot of them were born into these frequencies. They came in much more unified, let's say, within their own inner community than a lot of us did, just because we were born, in polarity. So they're coming in with a little bit of a gain on us already. So again, it's not so much about, do they know what they absolutely know what they need for education. They absolutely know what they need for just about everything. The real question is are we listening? because more often than not, and I can say, as a mother, it's a little trickier to listen to all of, what the children have to say. As a grandmother, it's a little bit easier because I've got that distance. I mean, um, but what I will say is there's really something powerful going on here when we give ourselves permission to actually listen to what our children are asking for and or requiring, really about just about anything. And then before we say that's a yes, that's a no, we can do it, we can't do it, pay attention to how it makes you feel. Pay attention. How does it actually make you feel in your body when your child says, you know what, I just would like to learn from home. I'd like to look on the computer when I want to learn something and not when I don't want to. It's like uh, uh, in the moment that your child says something like that, how do you feel? Are you scared? Are you worried that, you're going to be judged as a bad parent? What's happening in that moment? And again, let's meet that part of ourselves. Or maybe your child says something and you kind of go, oh my God, I feel liberated. I wish I could have done that when I was your age. Right? If you feel that way, then help make that happen. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I will tell you, make no mistake that the children have and have always been our means of evolving, right? Whether it's floods of high frequency kids coming in who ultimately get a diagnosis of autism or people perceive as functioning differently, or it's the next generation, right? This is the way we seed new levels of consciousness. This is the way we seed new vibrational frequencies on this planet. We give birth to them, literally. Yep. And then what do they do immediately after we give birth to them? They start poking us. they start showing us all the places where we have conditioning, right? And again, if we use those moments to be present to that conditioning, to help unravel that conditioning, to meet the parts of ourselves that haven't been met, then let me tell you, we end up co-creating with these kids in the most amazing ways.
Then I asked another question. It says, so is that actually happening with parents and educators? Do you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely happen. I know, again, we've been so conditioned to look at what's wrong on the planet that very rarely, especially right now, because everything's geared towards two people, fighting for a race, fighting to find out who's going to be king, right? So, but at the same time, it's like there are all kinds of educators, there are all kinds of individuals who are attempting to break that mold, right? It's like there's everything from online spiritual communities that are or attempting to support. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to say educate, because it's always really challenging for me when when I assume that, like, one person is the educator and the other person is being educated, right? I don't care how old we are. I don't care who we're interacting with. All human beings are giving and receiving, right? All human beings have something to offer, and we can receive something from them. We have something to give to them. They have something to give to us. And it includes babies. A baby has something to give, right? Yeah. So it definitely is happening. And it's happening in little pockets in and probably right now more, I'm going to say more hidden than exposed, right? Everybody's kind of under the radar right now with some of the, I mean, some of the technologies, the systems, everything's there. Everything, the rebuild is already there. Everything's available. It's already, you don't have things come crashing down if the infrastructure for the new isn't already there. It's there. So, but it's just not as loud as the crash that's coming down right now. So most of us are paying attention to the crash. It's a really amazing time. There are days when, man, it does not feel like a very amazing time. You know, it's like we've got so much flooding out of our fields, so much is leaving so fast that in years gone by, I would have said, you know, let's look at it. Let's play with it a little bit. In this moment, we really just don't have the time for that. It's like energy's coming up. We want to be able to meet it in the best way that we can. But if there's any story attached to anything right now, it really doesn't behoove us in any way, shape, or form to try to figure out what that is, right? It does help, however, to kind of go, okay, I got a 5-year-old inside of me who's scared, and just she needs to go out for a walk. You know, she needs to rock for a second. You know, she needs to read a good book. She needs to do or have a book read to her. She needs whatever she needs, right? So the moment that we just allow our focus to be internal right now, you know, we can perceive that we're been forced inside, yeah, or we can perceive that we can use this opportunity to be inside, yeah. That, I mean, even shifting that one little thing to what is my choice in this, right? The outer experience is the outer experience, but what is my choice within it? Yeah, the minute we kind of reorient ourselves to the choice within it, now we're back to our own empowerment. Yeah, now we're back to our own empowerment. And I think that the world could use a lot of empowered people right now, you know, a lot of people responsible for their own well being, self governing, let's say. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else before we call it a day?
There's one last question.
Okay.
Let's see. The question is, wondering if Suzy, if you have a daily opening, closing meditative practice to center yourself. I do this myself, and I find a daily orientation gratitude practice.
Yeah. It's so I get bored really easily. And so if I do the same practice for any long period of time, then my mind starts kicking in, and and I can tell myself all kinds of stories about it. So I usually do a short meditation in the morning for sure. And I actually love the Rumi cards, the Rumi Oracle cards. And I have a tendency, he's so gentle and he's so loving and he's so kind. I just like starting my day with that too. And there's usually a little meditative kind of practice that's associated with that. Outside of that, the practice all day, every day is what's arising within my inner community, and how can some aspect of my community support another aspect of my community. Yeah, yeah. And every now and again, it's that I notice that it's like I'm sitting in my sphere. All of those aspects of Suzy are there, and I'm just, okay, what's the one that can be of support today? What's the one that has the most clarity, the most awareness, the most compassion, the most bring her on in or bring him on in, whatever that aspect is, you know, because sometimes we don't know, sometimes we're just in deep uncertainty, but everything is there. Everything you need actually is inside of you. That I know for certain. Yeah. All right. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Thanks for playing today, and I'll see you guys again. Bye.